understand why we didn't take the full amount of LGA.
Well, we never got the full amount of LGA bill from that.
Well, it says we didn't take it.
I think we had a projected number put in front of us, but we knew that we weren't gonna get that, so we just counted on less.
Okay, I just
The way I
made it sound like there was a
Yeah,
check up
maybe
there
I'm
and we
wrong.
didn't take it.
We just didn't budget for all of it.
The state makes its projections for what you would be able to collect in 2011. You had that number last fall, and the council decided not to take that full amount, which is within the rights of the council. The downside of that is if you don't take the full LGA, the state will continue to look at that as a trend, and then will continue to lower that. So when you do need it, you may not get the full amount. But in this case, they said you were going to get a certain amount, and they gave you less anyway.
They lied.
So part of the budget negotiations, of course, they delayed payments to the schools again. They did a lot of fiscal gymnastics with future funding, and how it affected cities was to roll back LGA and market value credit to 2010 rates. That's why we have this deficit of about $72,000.
So are we going to get what we were supposed to get in 2010, in 2011, or are we going to get what we got?
You're going to get what the state gave the city of Rushford in 2010. You're going to get in 2011.
So we're still not going to get the amount we were supposed to get.
Correct. And it's far less than the amount that they said you would have gotten if you had levied the full amount.
Yeah. Well, the state's an unreliable partner.
Yes. So I sat down with staff as soon as we had the numbers. We went through, looked at public works and parks, police, library, and a transfer from the electric utility. The reason we did that is because historically, at least I think prior to the flood, there had been transfers much more than this on an annual basis into the city general fund. There are funds available out of that account, and so we would recommend that as a way to help us to close this loophole. What we're basically doing is looking at taking set-asides for vehicles, money that's that we've banked in the past, and then also street and seal coating, crack sealing, which we weren't going to do necessarily this year anyway. Money would have been in the budget, but because I think we accelerated the North End project, we looked at not spending all of that.
When we're talking about budget, say this year,
2011
or 2012.
Well, the issue in front of the council is 2011. We have a $72,000 deficit thanks to the state. This is a plan to eliminate that deficit.
For 2011.
Yes, and we'll have the budget for 2012, and the understanding we have the same amount of LGA and market value credit that we had in 2010.
So we had never done anything to recognize the fact that we were not going to get that $72,000 LGA.
Well, we didn't know about it.
We didn't know about it until last week.
But anyway, okay.
We finally got that exact number this week.
Which streets?
Thanks to the governor and the
Streets are
legislature.
not going to get seal coated.
Well, what was the timeline, or what was the plan that was for those seal coating streets, or seal coating?
The money had been set aside in the budget, and Jeff can correct me, but it was a placeholder had we needed the money. We've done some paving. I know in the area across the street here, the curb had popped out because they paved over the gutter. The gutter cement, so when you drive over it, it broke off. So it's work like that. What we need to do, and we're going to work, I think it'll be a good fall and winter project, is sit down with our engineers and come up with a 5-year plan for all of our streets to look at crack sealing and seal coating and mill and overlays. That'll get us onto a program that we can then budget for in the future. If you do those things, they'll save your streets. They'll last 30-plus years. The city of Mankato has led the way in that, and it's a good program. So I wouldn't hesitate to, or wouldn't think that at this point I can tell you which streets we're not doing because of this money being taken out. We may not have used it at all. Some years we've used it, some of it. I think we've used a little this year, but we probably wouldn't have used the full amount this year because of all the work that's being done at the north end. The bigger hit is like on these vehicles, because you program for a capital purchase, kind of like fire trucks. We set some money aside each year in order to purchase it at a future date.
So what I was going to ask, I guess, is how long is that going to extend need for the life of these trucks, or our skid loader, or some of these items that wear out?
Probably a year or two, although there are other options. There's equipment certificates. There's other options we could do in the short term. We've had a fairly aggressive schedule on replacing vehicles, and we'll just have to slow that down a little bit. But Jeff thinks this is manageable. The guys in our public works feel the same way. Even a year or two, it's not going to have a dramatic effect. There are some things on the skid loader. They're looking at finding some used attachments to go on to extend the life of it, so instead of renting, and that's a much cheaper alternative. And then those attachments, like postal diggers, etc., they could use some future equipment. So we'll just have to extend the life of them for a little bit longer.
What is an equipment certificate? I don't know that term.
It's like a 5-year note for buying a vehicle. It's like buying a car.
It's borrowed.
It's borrowed.
That doesn't go with our present policy we're going to be adopting.
If we adopt the policy.
Okay. You're recommending this.
I am. It's not just me, it's the entire staff.
I move to approve it.
Second it.
Motion by Mr. Robertson, second by Mr. Hansi. Any more discussion?
I guess the only thing that I would, and I'm sure that this will become part of our budget discussions this fall and everything else, is to balance what we know is gonna come at us from the state, from the feds. Everybody's projecting property taxes are gonna go through the roof. So, gradually, they're gonna grow through the roof. So, we have to be cognizant and save wherever we can save.
I think if we continue to look at this number, the 72,000, we have to look at growth in property values and see if there's been a gain in that. And by doing so, we can hopefully keep our tax rate flat, which is probably the best case scenario that we can do as a city in this kind of environment. That'll still allow us with some inflationary numbers for fuel and things like that, but it will hold the line on most major